What if the smartest person you've ever met never once tried to prove it? There's something psychology has quietly known for decades that most people completely overlook. The highest functioning minds on the planet don't behave the way we've been taught to expect. They don't dominate conversations, they don't perform brilliance, and the behaviors they do display, the ones hiding in plain sight every single day, are almost always misread as weakness. Once you learn to recognize them, you'll never see people the same way again. Cognitive psychologists have spent years studying what genuine high intelligence actually looks like in real life, and what they found challenges nearly everything pop culture has sold us. Intelligence isn't about how much information someone can recite, it's about how a brain engages with the world around it. And that engagement tends to surface through a set of quiet, consistent, easily dismissed habits. Here are 10 of them. The first is a deep comfort with being alone. People with exceptionally high IQs frequently choose solitude, not out of social anxiety or a dislike of others, but because their minds are genuinely always working. The prefrontal cortex, the region of the brain governing complex planning, deep reflection, and abstract thinking, functions best when it isn't competing with noise. Researchers at the London School of Economics discovered something striking. The higher a person's intelligence, the less satisfaction they tend to report from frequent social interaction. Their brains aren't wired to need constant external stimulation. They generate their own. The second habit is relentless curiosity, but not the dramatic, philosophical kind people imagine. It's quieter than that. It's the person who can't walk past a broken system without wondering why it works the way it does. The person who notices someone's reaction in a conversation and spends the next hour mentally reverse engineering it. High IQ brains are pattern-seeking engines, and curiosity is what keeps the engine running. It never fully switches off. The third habit surprises almost everyone. They talk to themselves. Psychologists have a clinical name for it, self-directed speech. And far from being a sign of eccentricity, research shows it actively sharpens cognitive performance. It strengthens working memory, improves focus, and helps the brain organize complex chains of thought in real time. The person quietly narrating their own thinking isn't losing their mind is working at full capacity. The fourth habit is one that requires real confidence to practice. They genuinely have no problem saying the words, "I don't know." This connects directly to one of the most well-documented phenomenon in psychology, the Dunning-Kruger effect, which describes the consistent tendency for people with limited knowledge to dramatically overestimate their own competence. Highly intelligent individuals tend to move in the exact opposite direction. The more they understand, the more acutely aware they become of how much they don't. Intellectual humility isn't weakness to them, it's precision. The fifth habit looks from the outside like a flaw. They overthink. Conversations, decisions, small interactions. An analytical mind doesn't automatically distinguish between problems worth dissecting and ones that aren't. The same cognitive machinery that solves complex problems has no off switch for mundane ones. What reads as indecision or anxiety is often something else entirely, a brain simultaneously running multiple models, weighing variables, testing outcomes before committing to any single conclusion. The sixth habit is one almost no one associates with raw intelligence, an unusually sharp, often unexpected sense of humor. Humor is, cognitively speaking, one of the most demanding things a brain can do. It requires identifying patterns, violating expectations at precisely the right moment, and drawing connections between completely unrelated domains, all within fractions of a second. Studies published in intelligence research journals have confirmed a measurable link between higher IQ and advanced humor processing. Wit isn't just a personality trait, it's a cognitive signature. The seventh habit is changing their minds openly and without apparent embarrassment. For most people, a belief becomes a part of their identity. Challenging it feels threatening. Highly intelligent individuals tend to treat beliefs differently, as working models, provisional maps of reality that should be updated the moment better information arrives. Psychologists call this cognitive flexibility, and it stands as one of the most reliable markers of advanced problem-solving capacity. What society often interprets as inconsistency or weakness is actually a form of intellectual strength most people never fully develop. The eighth habit tends to emerge after dark. A disproportionate number of high IQ individuals report that their minds come most fully alive at night. Some evolutionary psychologists link this to cognitive adaptability, the ability to function effectively outside conventional rhythms. When the world quiets down and external demands fall away, something internal seems to activate. The thinking gets clearer, the connections come faster, the questions get sharper. The ninth habit is something most people misread entirely in social settings. They observe far more than they speak. Rather than inserting themselves immediately into a conversation, they watch. They track emotional undercurrents, read body language, register what isn't being said. They're gathering data before they respond. It can look like shyness or disengagement or even arrogance. It's actually highly active pattern recognition applied to human behavior. And the 10th habit is perhaps the hardest to quantify, but in many ways the most defining. It's a persistent, low-level hunger for meaning. Not always existential, not always dramatic. Sometimes it's nothing more than a quiet question that never fully resolves, about why people think the way they do, why systems exist the way they do, why human beings consistently behave in ways that contradict their own stated values. High intelligence tends to come with a heightened awareness of complexity in society, in relationships, in the stories people tell themselves about who they are. Here's what's worth pausing on. Almost every single one of these habits can be misread. The person who prefers solitude gets labeled antisocial. The one who asks too many questions gets called difficult. The one who changes his position gets dismissed as unreliable. The one who stays quiet in a crowd gets overlooked entirely. But that's almost always been the point. Intelligence, at its deepest level, was never really about performance. It's about a brain that refuses to stop asking questions about patterns, about people, about the strange and endlessly complicated puzzle of being human. And sometimes, the sharpest mind in the room is the one you almost didn't notice at all.